right, guys, what we're going to start talking about in this section is just some basic fundamentals, more with ourselves, our stance, how we're going to hold the gun, balance, how we're going to move the gun, how our body works to move the gun, our gun mount, things like that. So we're going to start by talking about our gun stance. I like to relate it to other sports, other things that you may have seen or done. Boxing's a very good one. So we think about if the camera was my opponent, if you were my opponent, how would I set up to box you? That's about the same stance I'm going to use when I'm thinking about where I'm going to attempt to shoot or where I'm going to break the target. We call that our break zone or our break point. So if I get in a boxing stance, feet are about shoulder width, knees slightly bent. I'm a little bit close to my opponent. So I'm not standing completely chest open. I'm not standing 100% closed like I would if I was hitting a golf shot. I'm somewhere in between. This left toe for me, I'm a right-handed shooter pointing towards where I'm shooting. Balance. The only difference between the boxing stance and this, maybe a boxing stance, you're up on your balls of your feet or your toes, bounce around. We're going to be a little more flat-footed, feel a little more stable to the ground. So, Eric, let's take a look at your stance. Go ahead and hand me your shotgun. And just address the camera, same thing, just like you were going to get in a fighting stance. All right, serious fighter there. All right, go ahead and grab the gun, point towards the camera there. All right, does that feel pretty good in terms of where you were going to break the target?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, stance looks good. Eric's feet are maybe slightly wider than shoulder width, and that's okay. We can have some variables to our stance, but it looks very balanced. Now let's come around here and let's take a look at the side view over here. Now we're going to look at a couple things. One thing that's important is this hand position right here. You see the way Eric's got the gun. I've seen guys get the gun up in their finger or even lay their hand flat, set the gun in there. We want to have our fingers wrapped around the gun like Eric does. And it's real important that we point this index finger towards our target. So Eric looks pretty good here. Let's come around and look at the other side here. All right, now what we're looking for here, we want to have our neck stretched out and our head down on the comb. Even though we're in a balanced position, we're still stretching forward onto the gun. And you can see that Eric puts that comb right under his cheek, right on that bone, just under your eye. So his eye's right down the rib. So he can cheek that gun. His eye's right in the right spot every time. You can see he's got a good grip with his front hand, nice and balanced. I like that this wrist is nice and straight. We don't see a lot of cocked or with that elbow down and the big turn in that wrist. So that wrist is nice and straight. That's a good solid stance and posture there. So Eric, that looks darn near perfect, man. That looks good. All right, Lisa, let's take a look at you. Let me hold your gun. All right, just address the camera like you were gonna box it. All right, we got a southpaw here. All right, go ahead and grab the gun. All right, point directly, same thing, that's your break zone. All right, how do you feel right there?
Good.
All right, feel pretty good? All right, let's take a look. Now, we're gonna bring the camera over here and let's take a look. All right, stance is a little wide. It's a little too wide. What we've got a lot of bend in the knee here, but then we've got that back leg a little bit straight. Now, what we're gonna have to do when we're shooting targets is we're gonna have to move this gun with the bird. Now, what happens, you see her feet had to twist and she feels a little bit off balance there. All right, it's really easy for me to push her over and knock her off balance. So what we're gonna try to do, what I need you to do, I need you to feel more centered and I need both knees slightly bent. We don't want that back leg straight. I want you to narrow your stance slightly. All right, good. And you don't have to bend your knees a lot. We want to be comfortable. Stand just like you're standing, nice and comfortable. We don't need to bend the knees a lot, but we need them just out of the lock position. So get those feet about shoulder width, both knees bent. I want you to feel like you're pretty much perfectly balanced, weight evenly distributed. There you go. All right, that looks a little better. Now, see, she's much more stable now. I can't, you're harder to knock over, and that's real key. So that looks like a much better stance. All right, we look at this right finger. I'd like to see that index finger pointed. Otherwise, it's a pretty good grip. All right, we look pretty good here. There's a little bit too much torque in that wrist right here, so we're going to raise this elbow up just slightly, not uncomfortably, but just slightly. All right, now we're looking pretty good. So a couple little adjustments to Lisa's stance. She was leaning a little too much forward. That back leg, that back knee was locked, which was getting her a little bit off balance. Let's get this elbow down just a bit. I want you to be uncomfortable. Relax that hand a little bit. Just relax. There you go. All right, now we're looking like we're in a pretty good position there. All right, good job, Lisa. Go ahead and relax. Take a break. All right, Holly, step up right here for us. And same thing, getting your fighting stance like you're gonna box the camera. I don't want to mess with you. All right, go ahead and point the gun towards the camera. Let's see what we're looking at. All right, you look pretty good there. look really good actually. Let's see, got a good grip on the gun, good form right here. Look pretty balanced. You lean a little more into the shot maybe than I would like, but that's okay. There can be some variables here. Wrist is nice and straight, got a good grip on the gun. Let's look at the fit. Yeah, eyes right down the middle. You look pretty good. You feel pretty balanced there? Okay. One thing that I'd like to see a little more out of you, and I want you guys at home to understand that for a higher level shooter, your stance is going to alter from shot to shot depending on how high or low it is, depending on how much lateral movement we're making with the gun. One thing I'd like to see for Holly is she's got her legs, she likes to shoot with her knees a little bit locked and kind of and her torso's a little bit out forward, out over the center of her base. So just a little bit off balance. So get in your stance again. And I want you to feel a little more centered. I want both knees to feel flexed. I want you to feel like you're perfectly balanced. You're not leaning forward quite as much. So bring that balance up just like you were standing right there. There we go. That to me is the perfect stance. So now we're much more balanced. Go back to your old stance, your comfortable stance. All right, see when she gets in that position, it's just, with one finger, I can push her over. So back to where we went. Knees bent, a little more balance there. All right, now we're in a solid stance. We're much more balanced, and that's key, because what happens if we're a little bit out of balance, when we have to move the gun way over here or move the gun way over there, we're going to create problems. We're not going to be able to turn as much, and we're going to fall over, and what happens, we end up losing sight of the target. So stance looks great right there. Perfect. All right, let's take a look at you, young man. All right, show me that fighting stance. All right. All right, now that's your stance to address. There's your target right there. Okay. All right, good. Camera's the target. All right, let's point it. Let's point at the target. Okay. Not too bad. Now let's come down here. Let's look at the feet. All right, the toe is way too closed off. So what happens? Go ahead and mount the gun up. We're shooting and we're trying to move this way with the target. We're running out of the room. We're torquing this knee. So we're going to point that toe more towards where we're shooting. Good, good, very good. All right. Aside from that, the stance looks good. Got a good grip on the gun. Let's slide this hand slightly out, not too much, back a little bit right there. You were just on that button there. Fingers pointed. Looks balanced, looks like a good grip on the gun. Arms in good position here. Beautiful. All right, right down the middle of the gun. Perfect. All right, everybody pretty comfortable with that stance? All right, good.